Hey guys! Remember my last video reviewing Flash Party? Well, it turns out that developer has another game coming out called T3 Arena, and surprisingly it's a 3v3 hero shooter. So, whereas my Flash Party video was a review, this is more of a first impressions video. I'm not really trying to sway you guys to play it or to not play it, it's more of just showcasing the game. It is very similar in setup to Flash Party with how the roster is shown, as well as how you can check abilities and stuff. There are currently 17 heroes in the game. They all have their own gun, a basic ability, and an ultimate ability, and a passive ability that they don't unlock until you upgrade them to level 9. Some characters also have an alternate ability that drops in the game's loot boxes after you upgrade them to level 7. So, in this first match, I played as Iris, who is currently the T3 Arena's only healer, which in my opinion is definitely a negative. Her design aesthetic reminds me a bit of Mercy from Overwatch, especially her gun, but she thankfully does play a lot differently from Mercy. That being said, later on in the video, other game comparisons will be addressed. This match, I would say, is definitely one of the funner ones I've had playing it. I have a few grievances with aiming, but as you can see from the UI, there is an option to shoot using the finger on my left. That is actually pretty common in mobile shooters, and you're meant to hold your phone a certain way that I believe is called the claw method. That way you can access your left shoot button and joystick and control camera and abilities with the right fingers. However, I cannot do that, at all, so you'll see me shooting terribly or moving my character to help my aim, which in my experience with all most shooters I've played, isn't a bad strategy, but I will say clawing it up is probably better. There is also, however, just like Flash Party, controller support. I just figured though it'd be better to go in the game using touch for this video's purposes. I really enjoy Iris' gameplay. She relies heavily on being able to flick around quickly to throw out a heal to your allies, or herself when there's nobody on her screen to give the heal to. And on impact, this has a strong heal and then an AoE heal over time, where the AoE is based around whoever she threw the heal at, and it kind of gives a tether to whoever's in the thing, so you can as the enemy player, you can see who she's healing and who she's not healing with the AoE. The heal over time, in my opinion, is kind of weak, but I'm glad it's like that because the heal itself is on a low cooldown. So she can't just set it on someone and forget about it, because she has to always be throwing out the impact heal for the stronger part of it. It's pretty balanced, in my opinion. And her ultimate is kind of the same ability, whereas instead she throws a beacon that emits a much larger heal on impact with a larger AoE. It's done through ticks though, and because it's within that AoE, you have to get the tick heal. It's not like you're being healed over time because of the tether. You have to be in that tick range, which is kind of cool. And then I would say she works in all of the game modes I've played so far, and a lot of other characters don't kind of fit the mechanics of every game mode very well, which is fine, I suppose, but that's kind of an issue because there's not clear-cut roles in this game like you'd get from Paladins, TF2, Overwatch, or even Flash Party, where each character seems to have a class even in that game. T3 Arena also does have the cute little win poses and defeat poses, just like Flash Party does, but also no voice acting, just like Flash Party. This game actually brings over a lot from Flash Party, which is its little trophy system, which wasn't created by Flash Party but is incorporated by it, and a lot of mobile games do that. Which I don't think the trophy system is bad. It's a nice little way to unlock things and you get to see what you're going to be getting. However, it does have that same upgrade system and a store that incorporates access to the materials that let you level up with real money, which feels a lot stronger in this game when you're upping all your stats and abilities by a lot more than just like 5%. It's also got a battle pass, and modes are unlocked through trophy progress just like in Flash Party, but it takes way longer. Like you only get like I think 8 trophies, and it's like you gotta get to like 50, 100, 150, and it's not fun. They need to streamline unlocking modes. And then the stages also rotate like every few hours or something like that. There's also these cute little achievements if you like doing stuff like that. It kind of gives you like a certain way to play your character per se if you wanted to, which is nice. I don't think you get any real rewards for it though, but it is kind of cute, like just looking at like the stickers and stuff. In this next match, you'll see me play as Christina, who is kind of like this game's version of Junkrat. She's definitely designed to be a lot more in your face than Junkrat is, but the overall gameplay is essentially the same. I do really like her gameplay and I find it surprisingly fun, albeit a little stiff. Her basic ability is kind of like a sticky grenade mine, and she can hold up to 3 of them, and I believe have a bit more than that active. And her ultimate shoots out a cluster of bombs, however the range at which they shoot isn't very far, so you have to kind of be close for proper usage. Christina also happens to be one of those characters who I said doesn't work for every mode, and as you can see in this gameplay, while I don't struggle hard in this match, I do still struggle. This comes down from the one thing I've noticed in T3 Arena being area control. The game is almost always decided by whichever team takes control of the main area first, whether that's in Crystal Assault, Deathmatch, or Control. It's not too big of a deal in Payload since you're always moving in that mode, so because my team took control of the area and I was able to wriggle in and keep it mined up, we were able to keep control and not really lose momentum because it's really easy to get people when they're coming out if you camp spots. This definitely needs to be alleviated by maybe allowing respawning players to have immunity briefly. I would also like if crouching was possible. It just feels a bit too stiff not being able to crouch in this game. And there's also no way to voice chat or communicate in the game, which I think is a huge negative for a game like this, though it does seem more geared towards kids or just general like simple players who aren't looking for like a super competitive thing. So having that lack of communication also does stop people from being verbally toxic to potentially be a kid or just someone who isn't like, you know, used to that type of behavior in their games. It does have a bare bones like, you know how Overwatch has like the emote wheel or the voice wheel where you can like say help or backup or stick together? You can do that in this game with the speech bubble, but it only pops up some text on the side. It doesn't have like an audio cue for it, and there's only 3 options, and I think an option to use like a sticker emote. So yeah, maybe there's like a little bit of communication, but it's not real communication. communication, and there's no way that will draw your attention to it in the heat of like a firefight. So I don't consider that like being able to communicate. But it is there. It is there, and you can see the speech bubble by my ultimate ability actually. So, being derivative of other hero shooters and taking a lot from its sister game Flash Party, I would say, well, I like the way T3 Arena plays. It leaves a lot to be desired, and its actual aesthetic and art direction isn't impressive to me. Whereas Flash Party has such unique characters, this game just looks like it's trying to use Overwatch's art style and some of its character mechanics and designs. Which I could forgive, like, one of those if it wasn't also doing the other thing at the same time. It's like, how are you gonna have your game look like other characters, and then also play like other characters, and like have that same like world design too? You know, it's just weird and not very good when the other game is so much more unique than that. Also, I'm not a big fan of the music in the way that I am of Flash Party. Like, I love Flash Party's music. This game's music is just very generic, kind of. Like, it's music you would expect to hear in a game like this, in areas like this, but it's just not, it's not good. You're not gonna go like leave the game remembering the music, whereas you would of something like Flash Party or Overwatch, or even Paladins. This game's training mode is also pretty barren and not as in-depth as Flash Party's is, but it does have that being said, I am not sure off it's just so blatant and really doesn't work in the game's favor. So even like the ammo is the same, the type of guns are the same. Which is so weird because this game does have really good character designs, like this little green person named Labulid. So like, if you have designs like this and you can do this, why resort to Overwatch clones? Because it's easy to pad out your roster? It would make more sense if the roster was bigger too, right? So here's a character that I think has a unique look, unique abilities, you know, unique gameplay, and just looks different than, you know, the other games that could be attributed, like Overwatch, Paladins, stuff like that. Like, look at that, flipping, turning invisible, healing while invisible. It's kind of cool, and his ultimate is like a thing that slows and damages anybody in range of it. But like, that's cool. That's not Tracer from Overwatch, or Mercy, or Junkrat. That's something unique, you know? But then, I also don't really understand the game's balance theme with like, how big health pools are, who gets armor, who gets shields, who's a tank and who's not a tank. Like, when you play them, you'll understand who's what, but you can't see that before you pick the character, and sometimes the health pools don't really help you understand that, because there is no in-game class system, which I think is detrimental to this game, and it definitely needs that to help people, like, explain who they'd want to be. And just like speaking of the roster, these characters only have 2 abilities in the passive. Why are there Overwatch ripoffs when the roster is only 17 characters? Like, if there were more ripoffs and more characters, I would understand, but there's only 17. It just doesn't really make any sense why there's ripoff characters in this game. There are some pretty good UI options, as well as really good assistive options. You can choose to have aim assist of 2 varieties, which this whole time I thought I didn't have either type on. I guess I totally had one type on, though. You can also change it to be auto shoot, which I hate, but might be better for the players who can't claw hold or who are kids. Albeit auto shooting, in my opinion, is terrible and not very accurate and stops you from being sneaky. All the functions are there though, so that's pretty nice that they have things that can cater to players who might not be as good, but these options aren't going to make them amazing players just because the options exist. They're just there to help them a little bit more. In my opinion, Flash Party has heart and soul. This game seems more or less just extremely derivative. However, it looks fine and it plays fine. But let me know what you guys think, and don't forget to subscribe, there's always more to come.